Alright, hey guys, I'm Lighty, and we're going to be going over my Wild Strike Berserker build guide for League starting in Ritual League. Echoes of the Atlas 3.13. This is what it's going to look like. That's going to be me in the future, Wild Striking about. So let's get right into it. First thing, let's talk about what the fuck Wild Strike is. Wild Strike is legally a melee attack, but it isn't. It's also a fire attack, but it isn't. It's a lightning attack, but it isn't. And it's an ice attack, but it also isn't that. It's everything, but not at once, and not at the same time. It randomly does one of the three in a different ability. First one is the fire attack, and that does an AoE little explosion, looks like fire surge. Oh, boom, fire. Second one's an ice wave that does kind of like a freezing pulse. Oh, boom, ice. And the third one's basically just an arcing lightning bolt. It just looks like arc. Oh, bam, lightning. They all have different tags. Although universal tags affect the whole skill, individual tags also are benefited by individual scaling. Meaning if I somehow gain projectile damage, that wouldn't affect fire, that wouldn't affect arc, but that would affect the ice one, so that's something. But they all have attack tags, they're all elemental. So you could scale them all like that. Now this is interesting because if you were to crit, you would apply whatever status effect you're hitting with. Whether it's fire for ignite, ice for chill and freeze, or arcing bolt for shock. But it does it randomly, but there's actually no consistency as far as repeating or patterns or anything. It does have 100% conversion though, so that's a thing. So the best ways to scale it are gems and links that affect all aspects of it, and or increase the value of it. So things like inspiration, elemental damage, multi-strike, penetration, those sort of things are the things you want to focus on. But it leads to some interesting interactions with things we'll go on in the future talking about. So this is the Wild Strike Berserker skill tree I've been using. This is the one I planned out, and it might look a little crazy, but we'll go over why I picked what. So we're actually going to start from the right and go to the left. I do dip through Duelist and even partially into Ranger, all the way up into kind of Templar Witch area, and there's a reason for this. So focusing on this first area, this is a very, very good cluster. It's very underused. So we have a great notable in Wind Dancer. This gives you less damage taken if you haven't been hit recently, evasion if you haven't hit recently, and then more if you haven't hit recently. Now what this basically means is, if you don't get hit for a couple seconds, when you do get hit, that hit does 20% less damage. So if you're walking around and Cirrus walks up and slaps you, that hit that did 10k now does 8k. Overall, it's kind of like a baby Kintsugi and a notable. Fantastic notable all around. Wind Dancer, highly underused. The Crystal Skin cluster gives you a ton of not only avoidance from the actual damage and a little bit of res, but the avoiding the actual effect. 15, 45, 50% avoidance of all elemental ailments. So that's not like reducing the duration, this is full on avoidance. Right below it, you have the Thick Skin notable. This is 20%. So 50, 20, we're at 70% elemental ailment avoidance. Now, you'd be saying, well, how do I get 100%? Because I'm not going to travel fucking, up here to get this shit. So a body armor craft you can get, which is unlocked from Betrayal pretty early on, is the 25 to 35% chance to avoid being stunned and avoid elemental ailments. So as long as you just, recraft it up to 30%, this coupled with this means you're never going to be frozen, shocked, chilled, ignited, shock, and that type of shit. You're fine. You're fine from all that shit. Down here we got Point Blank. Projectile attack hits deal damage to things that are closer and less if they're farther. This affects just the icy wave. So if you're at point blank and it does hit the icy part, you do 30% more damage. So overall, that's almost always picked it up. Coming down here, we have a Iron Grip. Again, strength damage bonuses applied to projectile attacks. I do partially have a projectile attack, so for 1 point, it's free damage. Over here we have the Instant War Cries from Call to Arms. This is just for Enduring Crown left click. Again, criminally underused, even after the nerf, it's fantastic. It's like 2k life regen a second or whatever. Come to here, Imbalanced Guard, plus the Soul of Steel nodes. And this is actually going to, coupled with this, is going to give me a nice amount of armor and mitigation. I don't have tons of fizz mitigation. As long as I'm under 50%, this is basically worth it. You get a Tribal Fury, which gives a skills strike an additional nearby target. So it's like a baby ancestral call. So if I have 2 mobs near me, I'll wild strike both of them and then subsequently do the secondary effect to both of them. Basic Marauder is set up over here. RT, I will be crit, but I'm just grabbing RT in the very beginning. Me going crit basically entails me clicking this and then getting that. There's also a node down here. I lied down here. I lied down here. This is pretty good. I come a little bit through the silent life one. If I want to get more life, I can, but I just pick up the berserking nodes. It's the rage and reducing rage duration or reduction, so it's just more rage quality of life. Kind of mandatory on a berserker. I don't really like mandatory ascendancy based nodes, but here we are. Then I get elemental equilibrium. Now, this is cool because say I attack something, I hit them. It does the cold portion. They now gain a bunch of cold res, but they lose all their fire and lightning res. So my next hit that does fire and lightning, it just does 50% like more damage. However, that's not how it really works, because again, Wild Strike is truly random. You can hit the same element twice. Basically, this means that 66% of the time when I attack things, on average, I'll be doing it against negative 50 res, which is just still worth getting. So that's that. That's basically my tree and Wild Strike. That's kind of all there is to it there. Now, as far as my actual skills and my gems, look at this fucking PoB planner updated. It's basically PoB. I hate using it, but it's easier for you plebs, so here we are. Look, I didn't make a text document. I almost made a text document. Again, this is very basic Enduring Cry, Second Wind, Dash, Blood Magic setup. You have our Wild Strike setup over here, Inspiration, Multi, Ellie Pen, Wed, and a Will Be Trinity, but it's not even in the fucking thing yet. Cast an image taken for Steel Skin. We have Flesh and Stone Maim. Herald of Purity Precision. I can't use any sort of elemental flat scaling on my gear because it fucks with EE, so that's why I just grabbed these in my things. And then a Val Ancestral War Chief setup just for some supplemental clear or single target. Elemental Pen is a new thing. That's actually acquired from Replica Bitter Dream, which you get from a Replica Grand Heist. Thankfully, it's one of the most, just common things in the game. Now, you get this by actually vendoring Replica Bitter Dream with 3 different pen supports that are level 20. So when you get level 31 on this build, I'm going to grab one of each and start leveling those bad boys. So when I do get my first Replica Grand Heist, and it's really not going to take hard to get, this will be very common. Very, very, very common, trust me. Another very common replica is actually Replica Conqueror's Efficiency, which is also fantastic. Gives me max rage, takes care of some mana issues, which I really don't have, because my Ascendancy is, at 2% mana leech is disgusting. Stun immunity, and then rage stuff. We also have Aspect of Carnage, again, just for, more things. I was in the wrong version of the tree. There you go, 10 more rage also in that. Interesting also is another thing to grab is Elemental Hit on gloves. It's a good piece of gear to go for, so when you start finding gloves in the game that are like kind of okay, just Val them all, because eventually when you hit Ele Hit and gloves, that's going to be huge. So actually a really cool thing they added which will help you find and Val gloves is in the new loot filter update coming out in 3.13. There's this new thing called operator values. And if you don't mess with filters, this is might be a little bit above your pay grade, but you can now set amounts for minimum explicit modifiers in your operator values. Now this example here says show explicit mod greater than or equal to 2 of Host Tazash Effigy, right? So this means that anytime an item drops and it has at least 2 tier 1 cold res or tier 1 fire or tier 1 lightning, and a combination of the 2 or all 3, this will show up on your filter. So what this means is you can actually set it so when you find gloves that have like a tier 1 or 2 life roll, a tier 1 or 2 res roll, and then some combination of the life plus 2 res rolls, you just toss vals in them. So what this means is you can have in your filter, so anytime a glove drops that has one of the 3 life mods, either tier 1 life, tier 2 life, or tier 1 hybrid life, coupled with at least 2 of these mods, and if you see one of these on the ground, you basically can pick it up, craft whatever you need on them, and then just toss a val on them. And if you want to be as picky, you can always change the has explicit modifier from 2 to 1 if you want. This basically means these are all going to be like bait for valing. This is only going to happen if they're dropping ID'd or corrupted or whatever, but at least it's any little bit to help. Other cool gear to get is the jewels. This tree is actually really nice for jewels. I have access to like 1, 2, 3, we got 4, 5, 6, 7 jewels within reach. 8 if I grab that. All these jewels, because of the amount of tags that Wild Strike has, which is just every single element under the sun and melee, getting like triple and quad, especially going to harvest multi-jewels, is like not bad. So when you get those reforged crits or reforged crits more likely, or those sort of non-crit to add crit, use them on kobolds and stack some multis, because those are very, very valuable. So like the final little interesting tidbit I would like to share, I guess, when it comes to starting Wild Strike, for me, I'm going to be starting with basically Molten Striking until Wild Strike. It's just the natural progression. I don't have to worry about many supports or all that shit. But the things I'd like to get on the build early on is a Tabby. I want a Tabula Rasa. I want my links. I want to have that niceness. Now, when the new league launches, when any new league launches, they have what's referred to as it's an unofficial thing called the early bird special, the early bird bonus. This is when they make a new league, not that they fuck things up, but things slip through the cracks. Different methods tend to be low-level farming methods. Last league we had it, even to the extent of the first week of league, pretty much mirror shards were being dropped out of Exile temples nonstop. You can farm 6 links and metamorph. Blights were dropping like 6 link uniques. It always happens. This upcoming league, Ritual League, we're going to have a shop, and the shop could be accessible as early as, Act 1, the second stage, to the right, Tidal Island, which is a level 3 zone, and if that's the case, the things it'll offer in the shop will also be level 3 or below. There's not that many uniques in the game, not that many uniques that are actually level 3 below, and one of those is Tabula Rasa. Also, things include Wanderlust and Goldworm. Those are both great, Life's Break, but Tabula Rasa is the goal, because that saves me from having to farm one in Act 9. So for the first hour of the game, once I get to Tidal Island and I go right, assuming a ritual does spawn in here, I can just reset instances in Tidal Island until I get a shop that sells me a tabby. Either way, I'm Matt Lighty. Hope this helped you out a little bit, and if you're playing something like Elemental Hit, a lot of these base principles will apply to your build as well. If you're not playing Elemental Hit, you're not playing Wild Strike, that's okay, but guess what? You should also probably farm Tidal Island. Or at least look out in Discord or in other streams, or my stream on Friday, and see if this works, because if this does work, it's the the early bird special, and you'll get yourself an easy tabby early on, and then we could snag that bad boy and just get to maps faster. I'm Matt Lighty, and I'll be wild striking on Friday. I hope to see you there. Bye bye.